Hello, people. How are you doing?
Hey everyone, and we are back. I hope all of you are doing well and having a great time at Winter of Blockchain by Hyperedge. So far we have two projects on board with us, two community projects associated with Winter of Blockchain, which is WoodSap by Sandeep Srivastava and Lumos Lab, which is maintained by Kanish Kurana. But this time, that is today, tonight, we have our third community partners who will be onboarded soon, and with not one but two open source repositories dedicated to Winter of Blockchain. So, yes, gear up. We have this exciting session before you so that you guys know all about Shardeum. So, Shardeum is our latest community partner, and today we have with us Sandeepan Kandu, the developer relations at Shardeum.
So, hey, Sandeepan.
Hey, hi guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm very excited for this program. I know we have been talking about it for a while now, and it's good to be finally launching officially. And I'm looking forward to what comes out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we are really grateful for this partnership, and the stage is all yours now.
So,
Awesome.
people, keep up the enthusiasm in the chat, and I'll be, of course, taking the questions in the background, and we'll do an AMA session in the last, and where you can ask anything to Sandeepan, right? And I'll be putting them on the stream and all. So, all right then, Sandeepan, stage is all yours. I'll be removing ourselves.
Amazing. Yeah, let me just quickly share my screen. Hopefully, this works in one go.
Sure, sure.
Um, yeah, is my screen visible now?
Yes, I'm adding it, and yep. So, all right then, I'll be here.
Amazing. Hey, hi everyone. This is Sandeepan from the Shardeum DevRel team. Today we are going to learn a little bit about what Shardeum is, and also at the end of by the end of the workshop, I think you should be like by the steps I show, it should be very easy to understand how you can start building decentralized applications on top of Shardeum. And yeah, like scalability is one of the key uh, features about Shardeum, and today we're going to learn how you can build scalable decentralized applications on top of it. Yeah, so just like any other presentation on how the format will be, like this will be a little bit about like me starting with a basic PPT, because so that I can get help from the diagrams and explain it easily. And then we will jump on to code and also some websites, which I definitely want to share with you guys, which you can refer to learn more about it. But let's start with a problem statement initially. Like, why are we even here? Why are we doing this workshop? Why do we even need another blockchain? Why do we even need Shardium? Why are we talking about Shardium? Let's start with that questions first, like those questions first. The major problem about the existing ecosystem in Web3 is that it is that of scalability, and that's one of the major things which Shardium solves. And throughout this presentation, we will go one by one on how Shardium tackles those problems. As you can see, this is a very simple slide, a basic graph between user experience and demand. Initially, with any new blockchain, you will see that the user experience is very high, and initially the blockchain is not like it's not of much demand. So like there are less number of users, there's less number of transaction happening. So initially the user experience with a new blockchain, it starts all well and good, but then there comes this point in which it maxes out, it reaches a level beyond which it's not able to scale up. And like if we want web3 to be applicable in major applications of our life, if we want millions and even billions of people to use it, we want it to scale automatically. And that is where most of the blockchains in the current ecosystem, in the web3 ecosystem, lack, is that they have a limit. In technical terms we call that TPS, transaction per seconds, in which like if something popular is happening at the same time and many people are on at like doing something same at the same time, you see high transaction fees, you see that the transaction starts failing, and that's not exactly what you want. If you want all of our grandma and like grandpa to use a particular blockchain or a particular app, we want it to be working without any other technical challenges, or it not working in certain cases. And after that, this point, the user experience starts dropping. The TPS it hits, like for example, there's a popular NFT minting session is happening, and 50,000 people are going to a particular smart contract, clicking on that mint button and trying to mint an NFT. And suddenly everything, all hell breaks loose, and it's everything is on fire. Transaction fees are up over $50. Like, you don't want to pay $50 for a transaction fee, right? So that's when the graph starts dropping. Whenever there's a popular demand, the user experience starts decreasing. And that's where the major issue which Shardeum is solving with its scalability technology kicks in. And that's what we are going to learn in the next few slides. So let's learn a little bit about Shardeum. So Shardeum is a EVM-based layer one blockchain. So in EVM-based is like Ethereum virtual machine, which basically means that just like Ethereum, if you, I think most of you who are participating in this program already know about a little bit about what a blockchain is, what is Ethereum, and basically what it means is that any smart contract which works on the Ethereum chain will also work without any changes on the Shardium blockchain. So that is one of the very important things, because I think EVM is the most popular platform when it comes to Web3 development, and I think that is one of the key features about Shardium, that even though it's a sharded blockchain, about which we will learn a little bit about dynamic state sharding, but it maintains that capability of EVM, so that even existing developers can quickly change their dApps and become compatible with the Shardim network. A couple of steps with that, and we will also learn how existing EVM dApp on any other EVM chain can migrate towards Shardim in just a couple of steps. So yeah, some of the biggest features about Shardium is like the term Shardium has come from this technical term of sharding. And in the next slide, we are going to go into a little bit in depth about what sharding is. And yeah, one of the biggest feature of dynamic state sharding is that the network is divided among shards. And yeah, that's all I'm going to just say for now, and we will learn about in next slide. And then TPS per node, that's what this graph, you like, if you remember, we were seeing a different graph in the first slide. With Shardium, you get this graph, and this is the ideal scenario which you want in your applications. Based upon the number of nodes, Shardium can scale up or down its TPS. So as you can see, as we go, like as the number of nodes is increasing on the x-axis, the TPS is also increasing on the y-axis. So this is the ideal graph which we want in our applications, and this is the graph of Shardium, and we're going to learn how this happens also. And decentralization, like we are talking about a Web3 protocol, everything must be open source, secure, and decentralized. With it shouldn't need permissions from anyone, it should be entirely permissionless. And Shardium uses the proof of stake and proof of quorum consensus. You can learn more about both proof of stake and proof of quorum just by doing simple Google searches. I'm not going to go in depth about the consensus. Like as a blockchain developer, as a Web3 developer who is building on top of blockchain, you don't need to learn a lot about why and how the consensus happens. You just need to make sure that your application is convenient enough to make that thing automatically, and it's compatible with the blockchain you're working in. And yeah, you don't need to get in depth about these. With light consensus and low hardware requirements, I think that is one of the biggest I think advantages of Shardium. Is like anyone, by the way, like we have recently launched our Shardium beta net, and even you can run a Shardium node in your hardware, like if you have the necessary specs, and the specs are very low. To give you the context, you need hundreds of GBs of RAM to run most of the blockchains out there, but you need comparatively 16 GB of RAM to run a Shardium node. So that's how easy it is to run a Shardium node and start and join the network as a validator. So it's everything is much more accessible to people, and that's what we want in decentralization. Now let's deep dive into a little bit about dynamic state sharding. It is a little bit intimidating initially, when even when I was learning, but yeah, I'm going to try my best to explain it in as simple words as possible. Again, like, you only need to understand why, like, I'm like, as a blockchain developer, you don't need to worry about how the sharding is happening, but it helps while you're developing on top of a blockchain, that how it actually works. So like when you are developing your dapps, like you can quickly iterate and find some errors, and that will be helpful for you. So in dynamic state sharding, for example, let's start with other blockchains. In any other blockchain, you can see in this column there's a list of addresses, and in this column there's a list of balances for these individual addresses. And in any other, most of the blockchain networks out there, what happens is that if there's an address and if there's a transaction happening, then all the network, or at least most of the validators in the network, come together and like do consensus together. So it's like if there are 500 people, then a majority of those 500 people will come together and say whether a transaction is valid or not. And that is a lot of redundant work. Like you don't need like 500 people at the same time working together on the same thing. That's like exactly happening, like to give you the analogy, like imagine there are 5 classes, and in 5 classes there are 5 teachers teaching the same thing, instead of just one big class and one teacher teaching it at the same time. Like in traditional blockchains, there is just a one big class, and there's like that there's only one teacher and they're teaching it at the same time. So a lot of redundant work is being done through that in a dynamic state sharding, and that is solved through the dynamic state sharding. And we are going to learn just about how with that. So in Shardum, the blockchain itself is divided into shards. Shard is nothing but a group of nodes. So if there is the Shardeum blockchain consists of 100 nodes, and for example, let's take each shard being 10 nodes. So there are 10 shards with each containing 10 nodes, and each of those shards can individually uh, compute the transaction. And that's the beauty of dynamic state sharding. And to give you the idea of how that happens is that, like, you can imagine all of these as individual shards of the network, and each of the computers, like, and you can see this is a server, like let's take it as a server. Each of these shard has some like these, and each server can depict a node, and this is a collection of nodes, this is a collection of nodes, this is a collection of nodes. Basically what happens is that in Shardium, all the, like, each of these initial shard tracks a list of addresses. It can be wallet addresses, it can be smart contract addresses, and there is some overlap, but you can see that from this shard is not tracking 5 or 8 or 1 2 3 4 5 6. This shard itself is not tracking 6 addresses, it's only tracking 1 and 2 and 3. So now, unlike other blockchain, in other blockchain, this entire thing will be tracking all of these individually. That's a lot of redundant work. You don't need that. So in Shardium, the group is divided into multiple group of shards, and each of these shard is capable on computing the transactions on their own. Now, this is a lot to take initially. If and I guess some of you must still be confused, and that's the I think the best resource about this. I will be sharing the resources when I get out of this presentation too, to get a much more in-depth understanding of how dynamic state sharding works. The two great resources are, one, the Shardeum docs, and the second is the Shardeum light paper. And that you will find a little bit more details in this one. Like in this presentation of what we just went through, it's a very over the top kind of a thing, and I'm sure you must have a lot of questions. And I'm also happy to take those questions at the end of the workshop. But yeah, that's the overall basic like ideology about dynamic state sharding. That a key takeaway is, instead of everyone coming together and validating the transaction, that same transaction, instead of that, there are multiple group of people who are validating different sets of transaction, so you have parallel computation at the same time. So that's the overall easy one liner description of dynamic state sharding. But yeah, if you have any questions, I can take those at the end of the workshop. The second biggest feature about Shardeum is auto scaling. So let's take the like analogy of Netflix. If there are 20 million people watching Netflix at the same time, Netflix just doesn't break down, or like it may like sometimes happen, but it's not in a day-to-day basis, because there are servers, it's using AWS servers or something on the back end, which has the capability of scaling up and down depending upon the network load it's happening. So that's why not we use why don't we use that same technology in a blockchain? That's exactly what auto scaling is, and this is a feature of Shardeum, in which you can see all the white circles. These are standby validators, and the black circles are active validators. What happens is like every 60 seconds every 60 second is a cycle in Shardium. In every 60 second or in every cycle, the network goes around, like checks into the whole blockchain and sees what's the demand, what's the TPS demand, how many transactions are coming right now. So if there are 750 transactions like TPS needed, then the network is smart enough to pull in the necessary amount of nodes and achieve that 750 TPS. Now suddenly a popular NFT minting is happening, and now we need 1000 TPS capacity through the network. Then you can see like from the standby validators, more validators are pulled in. Now if you remember in one of our previous slide, we saw a straight line graph. So that's when like when the network demand goes high, the number of nodes as they are in the standby thing, that they are coming to the active section. And now with these number of nodes, we have reached 1000 TPS. So this is the basically overall idea about auto scaling of Shardium. So depending upon the network demand, the network is smart enough to identify what's the demand and scale up or down according to that. This makes the blockchain very efficient and helps it remain gas, like low gas fees at the longer run, instead of like other networks which reach that limit which I showed initially. So yeah, that's the auto scaling feature about Sharding. And the third one is atomic composability. Now, I think if some of you are aware about how traditional blockchains work, the biggest question right now you must be thinking is, if the blockchain is being divided into multiple different parts, how are each parts communicating? And do I need to worry about where my app or my users live in? Because like unlike other blockchain in which all the nodes are aware about everyone, in Shardium the nodes, as I shared, are grouped into different shards. So not everyone is aware about what's happening. So that's how like it's a three tier approach is being implemented in Shardium, in which there is one archiver node also, which is responsible to monitor the entire network. The archiver node has the entire history of the Shardium blockchain across all the nodes. And atomic composability is like maintained, in which you as a developer don't need to worry where or how the user will interact with your application. Even though the blockchain is segregated and broken into parts, the communication happens seamlessly. And that's the concept of atomic composability. For example, you in a Shardium lifecycle, transaction lifecycle, you can see this is a wallet. In the wallet, you are interacting with the front end UI, and the front end UI generates an access list. So in Shardium, what the how like the cross communication between all the shards happen is through an automated access list. This is nothing but a list of wallet addresses. For example, A is sending 50 tokens to B. What do you need in this transaction? The wallet address of A, the wallet address of B, and if you are like interacting with like a smart contract, then the smart contract address of that smart contract. All those will be listed together in an access list formation in the transaction. And now the Shardium blockchain knows which are the wallet addresses it needs to reach out to and how they can connect each other. So what it does is submits that to a Shardium RPC server. That RPC server propagates that to the entire Shardium network. And then like according to which, like to the access list which we just saw here, we will know like if the first transaction is happening, if the first address is here, the smart contract is here, the automated access list communicates each other, like all the shards. And that's how every of the like the transaction is known, that even though like the transaction, the data is different in different shards. Because of this atomic composability, because we are using automated access list, this is like you don't need to worry as a developer where your application lives in. Again, this can be a little bit confusing. So some of these concepts are like not as easy of what I'm trying to explain here. So if it's still very confusing, like you can definitely read all of these in depth through the light Shardium light paper and the documentation. But this is an overall concept. So the takeaway from this slide is that like you don't need to worry that the blockchain is divided or it's grouped into different parts. As a developer, your code doesn't need to change anything. So, and because Shardium maintains atomic composability, that's the key takeaway from this slide. And yeah, let's get to the reasons why developers are gravitating towards Shardium. As I can say, like auto scaling feature, like you need your dApps to be working all the time. It's not just whenever there is a network, like the network is not that in demand. You want to generate the demand. You want millions of people to use it at the same time. So the auto scaling features of Shardium could like helps you achieve that. And then the EVM based architecture, most of the developers who start learning Web3 are learning it on are learning Solidity, and we're going to learn a little bit about like how you can write Solidity. But EVM is the most popular blockchain development platform. So Shardium is EVM compatible, and EVM has the largest ecosystem. So that's one of the biggest reason also. And atomic composability, which we just went through, like existing blockchains don't have atomic like existing blockchains have atomic composability built in, because all the like as I said, everyone knows what's happening. But in a sharded blockchain, that's difficult to achieve. But Shardium it has implemented that through the automated access list feature. So it's the first state sharded layer one to atomic like retain atomic composability. And users, like one of the biggest I think positivity of building on top of Shardium is that you get access to a already huge user base. Shardium is still at its testnet stage right now. We are not even at mainnet, but like hundreds of thousands of people are interacting and are making transaction on top of the Shardium testnet. It still remains one of the widely like most popular testnet out there. So you have a lot of users. You don't need to worry about that. That's the biggest advantage you have. Like that's something you need to worry in. You may need to worry in other case or scenarios. But if you're building something about Shardium, like something and that's useful to people, there are a lot of people who are ready to use it. So that's one of the reason. And native to India, I think Sharding is the first layer one which is built from testnet by the community here in India. So we have a very our focus is definitely on emerging markets, be it India, be it Nigeria or Turkey, because I think these are the countries which can like really they really need the use case of a blockchain and the decentralization and permissionless computing. So yeah, although like we are built out of India, so definitely I think you can build from that's the line we definitely like to use, build from India but for global. So that's also one of the reasons why developers are gravitating towards Shardim. One of the strongest like points in Shardim is the community. We host a bunch of meetups, workshops, sessions every weekend, every weekday. Today there was a technical session somewhere happening in Noida. So you can join that community, start participating in those. And yeah, that's basically info about what Sharding is. And now let's get deep dive into the how. Now you learned what Sharding is and why we even need Sharding. Now let's learn on how to build on top of Sharding. So let me just get out of this presentation and starting from the docs. I hope my like these tabs are also visible. All the tabs are visible, I guess.
Yep, yep. And I've
Um,
also posted the link on the chat for the docs. People, if
yeah,
you
let me
like
just.
wanna follow along, you can. Yep.
Yeah, I hope my tabs are visible. The other tabs, the docs
Yes,
tab,
yes,
the
yes,
solidity
yes.
tab.
Yes,
Hello,
Sandeepan, it's visible. Yes, yes.
it's visible, right?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so this is the go-to page for any developers out there. The Shardeum docs, as you can see, like you can find it on docs.shardeum.org. Like all the concepts I shared, you can learn one by one. Like you can read through all of these. What is Shardeum? What's EVM? How the transaction consensus happens, and this is something you may not need at the first stage. But yeah, like the documentation is the best place to get started with Shardium. And the key important thing is, like, I guess most of you already have a MetaMask wallet. If not, you need a wallet to move forward with this. So definitely, like you have the installation instruction and how you can add the Shardium network. So you definitely need a MetaMask wallet.
We
Then
had them
after
set
you
it
have a
up
MetaMask
in
wallet,
we had them set it up in previous sessions. So yes.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so once you have the MetaMask wallet, you can add the Shardium network details. And the second step will be to claim testnet SHM. So there's a number of ways, like you can go through the Discord bot or the the website. Let me just quickly share. For this example, let's use liberty2.x. I'm dropping that also in the chat. So you can go to this website and claim the testnet SHM tokens to move forward and start deploying on top of the Sharding blockchain. So in blockchain, the concept is, for those who are not aware, to read, like the blockchain is a state. When you're reading from the blockchain, you don't need to pay any gas fees. It's only when you write to the blockchain, not RIGHT, WRITE. Only when you have write write transactions, that's when you need to pay the gas fees. And in this example, we are going to be deploying a smart contract, a basic smart contract. So you definitely need to have gas fees, and that you can get from the faucet. And also about the faucets and the network, let's go to the network and endpoint. So Shardium right now has two primary testnet live right now, Sphinx 1.x and Liberty 2.x. Sphinx 1.x is the latest one. It's the Shardium beta net, but for like it's the also the one which is being actively worked on. So there is a lot of breaking changes. So if you want a much more stable network for now, you can like let's go with Liberty 2.x for this example. But yeah, like moving forward, we will be launching updates on Sphinx 1.x also, and this will be the testnet, which will be the final version before we go mainnet. So this will be the much more recent version. But if you want something more stable for the meanwhile, like you can go with Liberty 2.x. So this is the difference between Sphinx and Liberty. And for this example, we will use Liberty. And yeah, that's basically it. Once you have claimed testnet SHM tokens, um, like let's go with deploying a contract. So as I initially mentioned, Shardum is an EVM compatible blockchain, so you can write your smart contracts in Solidity or Viper. We will prefer Solidity because obviously it's the most popular smart contract language, and there's a lot of resources available out there to learn Solidity. So it's a much more beginner friendly language, I would say, if you want to write basic programs on top of it. But yeah, I think like it's and the syntax is also, if you're coming from like JavaScript background, the syntax of Solidity is also very easy to pick up. And yeah, this is the best resource for learning Solidity is the Solidity documentation. There's a lot of videos out there, but it can be a little bit intimidating because there's a lot of stuff here. But it still remains by far, if you want to understand it from the deeper level of concept, which you will need to run and compile without any errors, uh, and solve those errors, even if those happens. Like for that, you need the knowledge of the documentation. Yeah,
Um, Uh, One second.
yeah, but
Again, people like Sandeepan just said, if you are very new to Solidity, we have also done sessions on Solidity. Please do check them out. We have already listed those on the Tech Resources channel. And yep, Sandeepan, you can go.
amazing. So yeah, Solidity is what we are going to be using. And let's go ahead and jump onto it, like Remix. Remix is an online IDE, and let's just deploy a basic. I already have a basic ERC20 contract built here with the name of token and TKN. The only let's just throughout this workshop we learned a little bit about like Shardeum, but every workshop needs something which you need to take out of. So at the end of the workshop, I want all of you at least deploy a smart contract on top of Shardeum and get that experience. So just let's just compile this smart contract first. My MetaMask is already configured with the Shardeum testnet details. And is my MetaMask pop-up showing? I guess not, right?
No, it is
Uh,
not. Like it's not.
Let me know if
But
it's, is it showing?
not yet. No. I think only the screen is getting like the tab is getting shared or something.
Okay. No, I'm sharing the entire Brave browser. Okay, never. Like,
Yeah, yes.
anyways, like once you have the testnet SHM tokens in your wallet and you have added Shardium network, that's you're good to go. Let's just compile and go to the deploy section, and through this, let's just go with injected provider. What injected provider does is it checks the network, and right now it seems like I'm connected to Shardium Sphinx. Let's just connect to liberty2.x, and so now you can see we are now connected to a custom 8081 network. Why 8081? Because Liberty2.x has a net chain ID of 8081. So if you see this in your remix, then you're successfully connected to the Sharding network. And let's just deploy this. Basically, what if you are not able to see the MetaMask transaction? It's just a MetaMask pop-up asking me to confirm the transaction, and I've confirmed it on the MetaMask. And now we will soon see the transaction on the terminal here. Also want to check meanwhile while the transaction is happening, to check on your wallet addresses or balances, or whether you have deployed the to like the contract successfully. This is the Shardium Explorer. Obviously we are using liberty2.x for this use case, but hopefully once Sphinx is a lot more stable, and like the changes are not that breaking, you will get access to a much better UI in Sphinx. But yeah, for this example we are using liberty2.x. So if we just go ahead, and now by now I think, yeah, my smart contract is also deployed. So yeah, you can see that it's successfully deployed. Let's just grab the transaction hash and go to the Explorer, and let's just see. Yeah, you can see that this is the transaction has been successful. It's a type of contract, and it's just and as I mentioned, like unlike other blockchain networks, there are no blocks in Shardium. Like Shardium is a blockchain, but there are no blocks. So what Shardium has is cycles, and every cycle is of 60 seconds, and this is the cycle in which this transaction was successful. So there's some stuff different about Shardium. So these are the minor things, but other than that, you can see that like in my remix code, this is just a simple ERC20 contract with a fixed balance, just like anything you will get in open Zeppelin library or something. And if you have learned about Solidity, you already know how to run like how to build a function and a constructor, and how you can derive from other interfaces. So these are the basic concepts you already know, and I have not made any specific changes for Shardium. It's EVM out of the box, so you can just change the RPC which we just went through here. Where is the RPC? Yeah. So this is the RPC URL. With just a change of RPC URL, you can start deploying your smart contracts on top of Shardium. It's as easy as that. So yeah, that's basically the overview of what I wanted to share in this workshop. For this particular event, the two most important parts where you can contribute in, and by the way, also like we are open sourcing all our node and our all the node repos, all the I think the validator repos, and also a bunch of other repos soon. And so like you can see, check out those two. Everything will be open source, but for this program, because those are actually like those repos are much more focused towards actually building the blockchain itself. We are not going to focus on that for this event. For this event, the focus will be your Shardium track focus will be much more on what you can build on top of Shardium, not how you can build Shardium itself, because that is a little bit more complex. So yeah, the number one repo is the Shardium dApp boilerplates. It's something you can actively work on. It's very beginner friendly. It's just we have started it, as you can see, just a couple of weeks ago, and this is an entirely like community. Like I'm imagining it to be a very community run thing. You can There's a quick instructions of what this boilerplate is about. It uses Next.js and WAGME and Ethers.js. Some of the stuff I think most of you are already aware of. And it's a boilerplate on how you can build dApps, and you can, since it uses Next.js, like go to source, go to a page, just create a new page and a new dApp, just add it over there. And it comes with the Rainbow Kit wallet integration and everything. You can configure it with Shardium. And yeah, we will soon be opening a bunch of issues which you can just grab and like start contributing on its own. And also the other big thing which I definitely want to share is the Shardium mission. So every week we publish a Shardium mission. It's sort of a challenge which you can like take. For example, the latest challenge is challenge number 13, mission 13 of playing a Sudoku. How you can build a Sudoku game on top of the Shardium blockchain with logic built through Solidity. So every week you will see new Shardium missions, and you can open a PR, and there's a prize amount also for every successful the best submission. There's a $250 prizes also. And so yeah, these are the two repos for this program which we have selected. This is something which you can like entirely you can start from scratch and contribute and take it forward. It's going to be community driven, and this is something you can challenge yourself and solve a particular topic, specific topic, and have fun with it. So yeah, you can choose either of these templates and start working on. So yeah, I think with that, I think I have shared everything I wanted. If there are any questions, we can take those now.
So, hey everyone. So, I hope you have enjoyed this awesome presentation by Sandeepan Kundu. So, this has been very insightful, and it deep dives on why developers are flocking towards Shardium, and with all the cool features that it offers. I believe this is the right time to work on the projects that he just suggested. Those are very cool projects. I love boilerplates. Right. So you can just get started. And I'll obviously be listing all the resources because I see some of the questions in the chat that are asking if you can share this PPT, you can share the links. So definitely I'll be doing sharing all the resources after this in the Discord server itself. But yes, apart from that, if you have any other questions, I believe since this session is very short, and obviously it has much content, so I believe it might be something to take in at first. But since this is our live, so this will always be available. Do come back here and watch it again if you feel confused. And of course, Sandeepan and all of us and other our mentors are all on the server, so you can just comment your questions there. Okay, Dhruv, a nice enthusiasm because Dhruv can't wait to contribute to the repository. So, cool.
Amazing.
Rebecca, were you trying to say something? You're on mute. Yes.
You're on mute.
So yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, Sandeepan, thank you so much for this powerful session and the deep dive into the Shardium ecosystem. Honestly, I personally admire the virtues that Shardium has been built on, the OCC principles, the open, collaborative, and community-driven approach. And I feel somewhere that is where we at Hyperedge are also trying to nurture the same community-driven virtues in the ecosystem. So yeah, I'm really glad that we could partner, and hopefully our community will get the best opportunity by contributing to the repos, the Shardium missions and Shardium dev boilerplate. So yeah.
Sounds good. I'm very excited to see the updates and the changes. Feel free to break it. Let's just break this repo as much as possible, and let's just see how it moves forward. I'm very excited to see that. Yeah, it's going to be everything you want to make it. So yeah, as long as at the end we have a final product and a working prototype, um, feel free to break it. Meanwhile, yeah,
What I love about the repository is that it uses all the things that we already know and already
exactly.
use in every project. This is exactly the tech stack that like it's a dreams tech stack, right? The Next.js, the Connect, the Rainbow Kit, the Wagmi, EtherJS, everything is like already set up. You can like experiment with it, and like Sandeepan just said, you can you might as well break it. But yes, I suppose you are very excited, and of course all of us in the Discord server, do tag us there. And if you have any other questions, do drop it in the Discord server itself, and we'll be happy to take it up. So that's all, I guess, Rebecca.
So far, so good. So glad to have you, Sandeepan. And I guess let's wrap up the
So
session.
thanks
Sounds
to
good.
Sandeepan Kundu for taking this up with us, and thanks for everyone for joining. I hope you had fun. So all the best. Keep contributing.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.